I recognize that music. It must be time for city business. Well, yes, indeed it is. We're starting just a little early today if you're listening live on Friday, but for the rest of you, you'll be starting right on time, Thursday, 6:30 p.m., and then the following Monday, 6:30 a.m., and it's good to welcome back to the KRUU halls here, freshly cleaned. Yes, Peaceful Cleaning Company came in, just a fabulous job. It's been a while for us, and we do certainly appreciate that. So, Michael, it's all cleaned up. Michael Halley, 4th Ward City Councilman, here to get us all caught up on the latest city haps, and I know there's quite a bit of happening, so let's jump right in. How you doing, Michael?
Good. Glad to be here as always.
Good to see you.
It smells so clean, and it's not a speck of dust.
It's shiny in here.
Yeah. All right, this is a recap of our regular March 10th City Council meeting. We heard from Burback Aquatics, who we've contracted for the pool, the outdoor pool. And essentially we're entering phase 3, which is preparing for construction. But we're not entirely sure we're ready for that. So it's a bit of authorizing the bid letting, which is go ahead and sending out
did you say bloodletting?
Bid letting.
Bid letting. Okay.
Yeah, letting bids.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of a construction process. You send out construction documents to anybody who's considering and doing the work. And so we authorize that. What that means is we're not necessarily moving forward right now. We are allowing bidders to come back in early April with their proposals, and then that'll give us real numbers, what it would cost to actually build the pool. By that time, the City Council and the task force will have met. If you're listening live Tuesday, tomorrow night, March 12th at 6:30 p.m. is a 3-part group meeting. City Council, Park and Rec Board, and Pool and Gym Task Force. We will all be meeting at City Hall, putting our heads together, crunching numbers, and coming up with what would be a realistic budget for the 2 facilities that are part of one project. So
kind of a synchronized swimming thing with all those groups?
Yeah. Well, the task force is charged with fundraising, among other things. And we just need to say, all right, what's a realistic number now? We had a second vote with the county. The county, 55% of the voters said no thank you. We do not want to contribute $1 million to this project.
I was going to ask about that.
Yep. So, it's a dead issue at this point. The county supervisors are authorized to give something if they wanted to, maybe more modest thing. So that's up to them. But at this point, we have to proceed without county support in that way. And we still have a community attraction and tourism grant, CAT grant, that we're in the running for. A group, including the mayor, will go up to Des Moines again Wednesday, March 12th, for a little meet the board who approves those grants.
Busy day.
Yeah, so they'll do that during the day and then come back in the evening, and that'll be another report. But we won't actually know what we're getting or if we're getting anything from that grant until maybe June. So to make a decision in April will be a little tricky, but essentially even the bids that are going out for the pool include options. So do we add the water slide right away, or would that come later as funds become available? That kind of thing. Can you build something that is usable but maybe doesn't have all the features you want because that's your budget? And that's what we'll be looking at. The reason we want to do this now and let the bids now is we're going to maintain a time frame for a pool opening by next summer, 2015. If we stop at any point along the way, that's gone. That time frame disappears. We have to keep moving if we're going to start construction this May and finish next May, essentially. So we have an entire swimming season. So that's the imperative aspect. But, the project is well funded at this point. $3 million city voters contributed, and another maybe almost 4.5 from donors. That's a good amount. And so, we just have to ask the task force, how much more do you realistically think you can fundraise in the time allotted? And there's talk, could the city contribute more? Well, we can't borrow more in a general obligation because the amount was set at $3 million. But could there be other funds, lost funds? It's all up in the air. I think the council will be hard to convince in some ways to do that. So we'll see. But just like any project, you take what you've got and what you think you're going to get, and then you build appropriately. You build according to that.
Yeah, well, that sounds like that's 80% of the way there. Is that correct?
75. I mean, of the original budget, but that budget included things that we might not do now. We probably can't afford to do right now. But we still want to build the pool as it was described and the gym as it was described. It was 3 courts and a walking running track. So, you got to get that. That's how the project was sold. You can't change that at this point.
Well,
so
that's exciting.
Yeah, so we let the bids and a few other things. We authorized the phase 3. Oh, you want this one?
Yep.
Authorized phase 3, which includes bid letting and construction. But obviously, if we decide to put the brakes on this, then we stop that. We also added, this is interesting, a local bidding preference. This is new for the city. Anytime bids come in,
I like the sound of it.
It is. It's pretty cool. Anytime bids come in, and usually we go with the lowest bidder as long as they're a reputable company. And we're now saying if a local company is within 2% of that low bid, but not the low bid, we will give preference to the local company.
I was going to say, is it President's Day again?
Nope.
It's preference.
Preference
Gotcha.
Day.
Or
precedence.
Preference.
It's preference day today. I just made that up. All right. So
well, I'm with you there. And by the way, whoever was just calling in, probably to say, we have really attentive listeners who often say, the mic isn't right. So I'm letting you know we switched mics. Whoever was calling in to let us know. No, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. It was my mic. You're perfect.
Thank you.
It was my mic that was a little squeaky there. With the cleaning, maybe they got inside and did a really good job. No, how about that? Let's blame the cleaner. What am I, a guy? No.
All right.
Anyway, back to city business. By the way, we're speaking with Michael Halley, 4th Ward council person in your 2nd term now. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And also a show here at KRUU, A Reasonable Alternative. Very reasonable show with the ever mellow and mellifluous sounding Matt Molyneux, and that's Fridays at 8 p.m. But let's get back to city business, because this is some interesting stuff. And,
yeah, it is.
And I want to. There's something I want to bring up, but let's finish this point first.
All right. Is it about the pool? Because I'm about to move on from that.
Well, it's about the FETA study that came out.
Oh, the housing. Yeah.
And it was just a fascinating kind of revelatory to me to learn 30% of the households in Fairfield at $20,000 or less a year. That's and so the worry about some of the dilapidation and all that, it's not that people are just being cheap. That's not very much money to live on. And also that 55% of the workforce here from outside of Fairfield, just some interesting statistics. And I know we'll talk about that in a different context, but I did want to bring it up.
Yeah, it was an interesting study, and the city did go in and help pay for that. And one of our projects I'll get to a little later is hopefully geared to some new housing. But
we've been talking about it a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll get to that.
Anyway, sorry to jump in, but let's get back to the flow here.
Yeah, so the flow, we did approve our budget for fiscal year 14-15. The city's on a fiscal year that begins July 1st and ends end of June. So on July 1st of this year, it'll begin that year. And like any budget, it's like a puzzle, very complicated puzzle, and trying to put the pieces together. As always, the city tries to offer as many services with this funding we have. I noticed the paper likes to say tax increase. Well, the tax increase it's based on the city does have the authority to raise and lower its portion of property tax. Now, the property tax we all pay if we own a home or any sort of building in town doesn't all go to the city. A portion of it goes to the schools, a portion goes to the hospital. The city's portion, that amount, or millage, the amount that's taxed, fluctuates year to year. We did lower it, I believe last year, slightly. Now it's up again, but I have to do the numbers, but 90-some% of that increase were two measures that voters approved. First was the $3 million for the pool and gym, and that was the way that was worded, would be paid off through a property tax increase until that amount's paid off. So that was authorized by voters. 2/3 said yes. A similar percentage said yes to SURF, not Surfs Up, but CIRF. It's something that we've had on the books for a while, and it Capital Improvement Reserve Fund is what that stands for. It's basically a small amount that's set aside for capital improvements, which would be roads, any facilities, or anything like that the city would work on. That was on there for a while and then kind of expired, but voters approved that again last November. So those are, you could say, the will of the people. And then the minor difference was just trying to make up the gap between the expenses that we're incurring this year and the income. So there's that explanation. It makes it easier to be an elected official when you can blame the voters.
Well, I mean, but that actually, it's a very interesting process, because when it comes down to, it sounds like the city's doing something. In this case, the city put out a ballot, a poll, an initiative. It got voted on. Now it's being actualized. So it's it's an interesting process.
Yeah, it is. And
good to understand how it works.
Yeah, it is. It's important. It's not being imposed upon is, I suppose, the nutshell of that one. We have a lot of projects besides the pool and gym. We've got all the wastewater upgrades. So the budget looks big because the projects are big, so the expenditures are big, but then the income that comes in to pay for those is covered different ways. So there's the pool and gym covered by property tax, and then all the wastewater repairs covered by there was an increase in the rates last year, and that will doesn't pay for it pays for the loans that we're taking out. Did I speak on that last time about these loans? It's not on the agenda, but I want to touch upon this really quickly. I wrote in a weekly reader about this. The state revolving loan has this new program that if you're borrowing money, that if a wastewater authority is borrowing for upgrades, instead of paying back the interest, they use the amount that they would have paid in interest, but for water improvement projects. So all sorts of watershed issues. And
I believe you did mention that.
Yeah. So we're borrowing like $26 million from the state revolving fund. We've got 3 applications that total about $26 million. So that leaves us with a couple million to work with, and various projects, some on campus or around Crow Creek, some that deal with farm runoff and soil conservation. The city will do some pervious paving parking lot we want to do for the new gym, where the water, instead of hitting this concrete and running off and getting channeled into the wastewater, actually can go back into the ground. So there's space between whatever type of paving and allows the water to go through. These kind of things. So that's really exciting. Moving along, we set a public hearing for nuisance abatements. This is a thing we do every year. So that'll be April 14th, City Hall at 7 o'clock. Also set a public hearing for the plan specifications, form of contract for the frontage road, Highway 1 South. That again is April 14th at 7 o'clock at City Hall. That's the project I was speaking of. It's a TIF district, tax increment finance, and includes the new bank on
2-story new bank.
Yeah, as you see, across from the hospital.
Across from the hospital,
Yep. So the way this works is the bank wants to build in a location that doesn't currently have a nice road. So we create a TIF district where the property taxes that the new bank will create, 'cause it's a $2 to $3 million property, are then used to repay a loan to build infrastructure that allows the project. So we will build a frontage road that will run parallel to Highway 1 South and go to their entrance and a little bit past it. So they get a nice road, and we use those property taxes to pay for the road. And then once that's paid for, we've added a new property to our tax roll. So that's the ultimate benefit there. The good thing about this road, 2 good things about it. One is this is again tied into something I'll speak on later, complete streets. It's a concept that involves building streets not just for vehicular traffic, but for cyclists and pedestrians as well. So a complete street would have sidewalks on either side, a little green space, then the curb, and then bike lanes, then car, truck lanes, all that. So you're dealing with all modes of transportation, not just cars. And within city limits, our roads are not wide enough almost anywhere in town to do this. This is like the first new road we're building. And this is, again, part of our Blue Zone initiative to include complete streets. So this will have that. And we've got the trail on one side. We'll pave the trail and have this nice road with bike lanes leading to, this is where we're getting with the housing, where it'll dead end past the bank. There's some land the city annexed recently that could be developed in housing. So that street then could turn east and go back to a new housing development. So that's something this study that you mentioned was very much for. You do a study like this not just to have statistics for your own use, but you offer them to potential developers, or you can use them for getting potential grant funds. Once you have a third-party study that has a little bit more authority to it. So we'll start wooing developers.
Well, we're certainly in need. I was just speaking with somebody yesterday who's been trying to find a decent rental for a while, and it's a very tough market there.
Yep.
And even the buying at different levels, the lower income level, the upper, there's just a shortage. There's a lot of people coming in and going elsewhere, just I think out of necessity. So there must be a way to leverage that a little bit.
Yeah, that's the idea. So we'll be working with Fairfield Economic Development Association on that one. A couple little things. We fixed Prairie Lake subdivision final plat. It was just a little fix there, but we got another tax abatement from a property out that way, and a couple more. One from a local business here on 4th Street, Patrick White's restaurant. So anytime a person does an upgrade to their facility, they can apply for one of these. We passed all three just because we don't scrutinize as long as it looks like it's intact. The county assessor then does the assessing how much of the value really increased, and then they'll get a property tax relief for a few years based on that. We authorized the issuance of the $3 million general obligation notes. Now what that means is we're not borrowing it currently, but we're preparing ourselves. If we do pull the trigger and start building that pool, we'll have to start borrowing of $3 million. Not all $3 million at once, but we will have to borrow.
Boy, you guys have been busy.
Yep.
This is a lot of grade A stuff going on here.
This is like pulling the trigger on things that were talked about for a while. We just did, phase one of this millions of dollars sewer upgrade last week. So these are big projects. All right. So two things we did for our Blue Zone initiative. We accepted a complete streets policy. I was mentioning just now, include sidewalks, bike lanes, and car lanes. And it's non-binding. It basically says when we can, we will. Another we did was land use protection for farmers markets and community gardens. Again, the language is non-binding, but we're saying that when there's land available for those purposes, the city will encourage and work with local groups and even like law enforcement, for example. If you have a community garden, which I'm hoping to get one started this season.
Great, just like we have, excuse me, right here at KRUU have had great raspberries and whatnot. But it's interesting. I just want to mention our Fairfield Farmers Market because Steve Boss has a show, Great Taste, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. It's been on FMC many, many times, 7 p.m. that is. But he has said that Fairfield is second only in volume in terms of the farmers market to Des Moines, which is pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
For the size that we are. And I know Tom was coming on board with some of this. It's really great to see. So
it is.
Very good.
Well, the Community Garden Project is, again, a part of our Blue Zone initiatives, and I finally found the group I think that'll help make it real. And I've been looking. I thought maybe the farmers market would help, but they've got their own. They're still trying to sell their products, not really looking to grow things. I think it's going to be the Master Gardeners Group who's going to help.
Oh, great. I was going to say not trying to grow things metaphorically speaking, because they are growing things definitely.
But they want to grow for profit. It's
yes.
a business model rather than, hey, I'll help you grow your own things. I mean, they've got their own business to run, and
of course,
who can set aside time to do that. But master gardeners, on the other hand, in order to get their accreditation, they need many volunteer hours. If you noticed how beautiful the nodes around the square were looking last year, weed free and full of mulch, that was the master gardeners who made that happen.
Fantastic.
So thank you, master gardeners.
Right on.
I look forward to working with you on this community garden.
Again, I don't mean to talk about ourselves. Oh yeah, this is the radio station, but last summer we had some incredible students, part of the sustainability, come and build a garden. We've had one permaculture garden from before, but with a whole swirly bits and everything. It was really fun. It adds a lot of life to community space, and it's just good. I think it's good business, good visuals, and a really nice effect, nice thing. So.
Well, it's really in the air right now. The city is working with a professor at ISU, who's coming actually on Friday, to talk about using Fairfield as a pilot for communities where city code could be interfering with local food production, and how to change the code to then promote local food production. So, for example, if there's an empty lot, why can't it be a community garden? Well, we just passed something that said we will encourage that use for empty lots. It's going to take a little bit more, probably legal language if it's a private lot, to make sure it's all in line, but I like that we're going in this direction. We have a lot of people in this community who are very gung-ho about local foods,
absolutely,
gardens or orchards or whatnot, and we have this great rich soil in Iowa, not just in the farmlands but here in the town itself. And so I love this idea of I might be rubbing some people the wrong way, but I like the idea of front lawns gardens. Now, we can't have gardens in the right of way, but we can in our front lawns. And so I've seen these gardens not lawns pictures. You ever seen these?
I have. Some beautiful
lush, amazing.
I'll tell you what, the way the economy's going for some of us, it's going to be our grocery store pretty soon.
Bring back the victory gardens.
There you go. But also, I do want to say that this is, I just think it's a remarkable thing. Bring him by if you want. I don't know what time frame he's going to be here, but I have a little show that goes from 3 to 4, that time range. Would be lovely to talk with him, or we'll set some up another time.
Yeah.
And part of the Dream Green series, we visited up there and spoke with. They have a lot of remarkable things going on.
Yeah, they do
on that campus. But
this is not the first time we've partnered with ISU on,
Scott
sustainability.
Tim.
Well, yeah, and he kind of brought him here. He introduced, and so if you want to set it up, talk to Scott.
Beautiful. And
I will be mentioning Scott. Everything is connected today, really. So I'll be mentioning Scott here later because he gave a really great report.
Yeah, we better book because we're getting All
right, we did our second of 3 readings of the tree planting, tree ordinance amendments. We did have a little pushback about 2 clauses in there. Heritage trees, meaning these large trees, a 30-inch diameter of certain species, having protection even on private property, and the ban on the soil drench insecticides. Some members of our agricultural community, Farm Bureau, were a little concerned about that. Interestingly, the ordinance that these were modeled after was from another Midwest community, but maybe not one that has ag in city limits, and we do actually have a little bit of ag land in city limits, and may want to have more in the future, may want to pull some in. So we wanted to make it ag friendly, so basically we exempted agriculture or silviculture land, which silviculture being tree, basically forestry as in harvesting. Wouldn't make any sense if you weren't allowed to take down a tree if you were in the forestry business. So exempted that and exempted ag because, again, you don't want to put limitations on someone trying to create a growing space and they have to take some trees down. And it really wasn't the intent. The intent of this is to protect our urban forest. And so we'll do that.
Speaking of that, we're hearing about, and this has been some months here, more county, I think, than city issue, but a new big production facility out by Overland that's taking shape.
Oh, that county, yeah.
But again, that's not really connected with the city, is it?
Not really. I could talk about it sometime when we have less to talk about. Yeah.
Well, and also we'll be talking with the county too, so I think it's more on their plate right now.
It is completely on their plate. Yeah, it's not in our jurisdiction. 2 things with sustainability. One is that the Go Green Commission is being revamped and reorganized. Volunteer group who will help steer sustainability initiatives in the city, look deeply at the Go Green plan that was already put in place in 2009 and say what areas are we still not moving forward on. There aren't that many. I think Scott Tim was moving on 80% of them over these years. So I can quickly just name the members that we appointed: Faith Reeves, Aaron Hirschberg, Christopher Welsh, Amy Van Beek, Anna Bruin, Adam Plague, Michael Cook, Tom Barrett, Stuart Valentine, Lonnie Gamble, Kari Betty, Patrick Bolsold, and Sasha Kisa.
Who is, by the way, the one who did our garden.
Yep.
But you know what?
So
that is a
connected.
Fantastic group of people. Wow.
Yep. And they will also be looking into securing funding for Scott Tim's sustainability coordination position moving forward.
Great.
So
He's
heard
been
from Scott.
huge asset.
Yep. He did a report. He gave a report. He mostly covered the Hometown Reward Program, which was his main focus this last couple years. But all this great energy savings, $1 million across the board in the community between residential, city, manufacturers, business. So we really knocked it out of the park. And the reward was about $22,000 donated from Alliant Energy towards the solar panel array that's on the public library.
Yeah.
Which, has room for growth. If you look at it, there's more panels that could go there. So I'd like to.
We understand.
I'm already looking ahead.
We understand that principle.
Yep.
But you know what? We did have a big victory when the power went out here the last time in the city. We just stayed up running like nobody's business.
That's what it's about.
So
I know if you think about all the corn we grow and we got the sunlight for that, we can grow our own energy. We could be energy independent here in Iowa if we had the mindset to do so. It's the sky's the limit, and that's no pun intended. So next, Scott's got a couple of things on his agenda. One is working with me on the tree ordinance and replanting all the trees we'll lose to emerald ash borer, and he's also working with Derek Wolfco on the Natty property I did talk about.
Yes,
it's the last year it's going to be farmed, and it's going to start turning into prairie restoration, woodlands, another orchard, all sorts of great things. So he's got a busy
tableau.
Future. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I know we're running late here. Any last comment?
No, it's just,
that's it. That's all you got?
I could, but I'm trying to let you get back to your class.
Well, that's true. It's not good to tell people to be on time when you're late.
That's right.
And as a matter of fact, we've had a bunch of great guest speakers: Jeffrey Hedquist, Steve Boss, coming today. Monica Hadley, who is the host of Writers' Voices and a serial entrepreneur herself. So it's
what kind
been
of cereal?
Well, about 5 or 6 successful businesses.
No.
Sugar Pops?
There you go.
There you go. Anyway, it's good to see you. We want to thank FMC for being here, and also remind you you're listening to solar-powered KRUU-FM. We're the solar-powered guys with the little panels. Well, we were one of the first projects, though, when that Go Green Commission happened. And you know what? What a cool thing, because that Go Green Commission is what kind of put Fairfield on the map. And the mayor, one of the green guys, and I hear the music. I'm drowning. We'll see you next time on City Business with City Councilman Michael Halley. This is James Moore. Keep it tuned right here to solar-powered KRUU-FM, unless you're watching FMC.